Okay. Looks like most people are here, so probably good to get started whenever you're ready, Troy.
Ready when you are.
Okay. You ready to start, Troy?
I'm ready. You want me to share my screen now, or?
Yep, whenever you're ready. Say everybody here is good to go.
All right. Make sure I share the right one.
Right.
There we go. All right. You want me to kick it off, or?
Yeah, go for it, Troy.
All right. Perfect. Good morning, everyone. I'm really excited to kick things off this morning. I wanted to thank ProSoft for the opportunity to present today. This is actually my second Power Launch event. My name is Troy DeGroat. I'm the Bluebeam Professional Services Director at U Chapter 2. And I started out my career in a high school internship as a structural steel detailer using manual board drafting, then moved into a structural designer role for a few different structural engineering firms here in the Minneapolis area. And when the industry started moving towards 3D modeling and design back in about 2009, I transitioned about 70 employees in 7 different offices across the United States into that latest technology. This included structural, mechanical, electrical, plumbing, fire protection, civil, and laser scanning. Finding a new passion for developing people and processes, I took my experience as a BIM manager and started teaching AutoCAD, Revit Structure, Revit Architecture, and really took off with Bluebeam Review. I'm a 9-time speaker at Bluebeam's XCon Global Conference, among several other conferences and global user groups. And last, as a subject matter expert, I've also been a writer for Bluebeam's blog for several years. So you'll find about 16 or so articles on Bluebeam's website if you get a chance to check those out. And I myself continuously learn because I live in the industry trenches every day, learning company-specific workflows, obstacles, and goals, and designing standardized, consistently accurate, and predictable solutions. Packaging all that together, I provide industry-leading services and training for Bluebeam Review, helping companies get the most out of their software investment. I've worked hand in hand with companies throughout the United States, Canada, and Northern Europe, building custom tools and training specific to their needs. We've continually received amazing feedback as our courses approach 4,000 students per year through word of mouth. On my website, uchapter2.com, I host the industry's most complete resource for everything Bluebeam. This professional learning community is an environment where users of all levels and all parts of the world learn together, from written how-tos and videos to free tool downloads and the Bluebeam Brainery, which is an active forum of Bluebeam users just like you, learning from each other. You're all invited to take advantage of all of these resources. Some of you might be wondering what exactly Bluebeam Review is. Maybe you've heard about it, but have never actually seen what the software can do. Bluebeam Review is a PDF-based markup, editing, and collaboration tool built specifically for the architectural, engineering, and construction industry. Quickly growing to over 3 million users, Bluebeam is being used by 99% of large construction firms in the United States and rapidly growing among small to medium-sized businesses as well. You can see here on the slide several of the ways the industry is using Bluebeam. Today, I want to show you a few ways simple custom tools are helping customers get the most out of their software investment through consistent, accurate, predictable workflows. I hope you find that I'm an extremely laid-back presenter. If you have any questions along the way, please don't hesitate to ask. I'll do my best to answer those as we go. So those of you that are logged in online, I do have the Q&A open. I'll be watching that. Those of you that are live in the room, don't hesitate to speak up. So enough with the slideshow. Let's jump into Bluebeam. So to start out, I'm going to start out real basic, and then I'm going to start to show you some cool stuff here. I've just got a floor plan open. A couple of the things that I like to point out in my training are the preferences. So when we go in here in the general section, I always tell my users to enter their first and last name in the user, because this is going to show up in the markups list with you as the author of those markups. So it's nice to know who's doing which markups, especially in a collaborative workflow. It also stands up or shows up in dynamic stamps. So the stamp might be built so that when you place it, it actually puts your username and the date that you placed it. So that's one thing I like to point out to people. Another one on the tools section here and markups at the top. The third one down here says auto size text box and call up markups. What this one does, I turn this on with the checkbox. What this one does is when you do a text box, typically you make it too big, you type in your text, and then you have to resize it when you're done. This will actually resize it automatically when you're done. So you're going to save a click and a drag every single time you place a note. So I'll show you that when we get to the markup tools. So those are just a couple. I'm going to click OK. And we're going to zoom in here to the upper corner. And we're just going to show you a couple of the markup tools. Starting with that text box. So again, you guys have all done this. I know this is review for a lot of you. Click and drag. It's going to flash asking you to type in your text. I get pretty creative with mine. And what's going to happen when I click out of here, a couple things. It's going to shrink the box automatically to fit the text because of that preference I updated. Also, because down here on the status bar, I have my reuse markup tool turned on, it's going to start my next text box. So you can see both of those happened. I'm going to hit escape to cancel that command. And now you can see that box automatically shrunk to fit the text. Now, when you open Bluebeam for the first time and you do your text box, it actually doesn't have a box. I don't know why they built it that way. I think they thought it'd be funny to deliver half of what the tool's called. So all you need to do is select it, come over here into the properties, the little gearbox, check out your line width and bump that up to 1 or whatever you want that thickness to be so you can see that box. Now what you want to do is go to the bottom of the properties and click on set as default so that from now on you'll have that box on your text box. Okay. So any of the markup tools, measurement tools, any of that, you can change what it looks like here in the properties and set that as your default. So it just works that way every time. You don't have to update your markups every single time. Couple tips here. If I select this and hold down my control key, I can click and drag and it'll make a copy wherever I drop that. So control key, make those copies. Another tip, I used to switch over to the arrow here to be able to draw a window and select things. You actually don't have to do that. If you hold down your right mouse button instead of your left, it'll draw that selection window. And it's just like AutoCAD. If you go left to right, you'll get everything that's inside of that box. So if you look careful, I'm only going to get 3 of these in the middle. If I go from the right to the left, it's going to grab whatever I cross. So you don't have to switch over to that arrow. Once I have those selected, I can right click, go to alignment, and align left, center, right. I'm going to go left. And then also I can come in here to alignment and distribute vertically. So I can start to clean these up. Make things look nice for a presentation, or maybe you have an engineer that's particular about how things are laid out. I've worked with plenty of those. You can make it nice and clean. So that's our text box. Next one, I'm going to do the call out. This is just a checkbox or a text box with an arrow. So you're going to point to something, and then the second click is where you want your note. Again, type in your note. And when I click off of it, it's going to shrink that box again and start a new one. And I'm going to hit escape again. So you can see how we're saving time with that box shrinking automatically. With the call out, I always like to use these instead of text boxes and separate arrows because they stay connected. If I want this note to point to several different places, I just right click, add a leader. Right click, add a leader. And I can add as many as I want and they stay connected. So I don't have to draw a separate arrow in here and try to grab onto that elbow and line it up and pray nothing ever moves. I can just right click, add a leader. Now, when you want to remove any of these, you just hold down your shift key and click on the tip of the arrow you want to remove. So super simple to add or remove as many as you want. Some other ones, the highlight. If I come down here, you'll notice that the highlighter is actually more sophisticated than you would think. When I'm out here in the open, it looks like the tip of a highlighter. As soon as I get close to any text, it actually changes to a text selector, and I can drag over that and highlight the text that way. Works great, fantastic. What you're going to find, though, is once in a while, in a congested drawing, when you try to highlight something, it will blink and highlight everything except the one you actually tried to highlight. Okay, it's going to happen. Just come up here, click undo, pretend it never happened. Go back to that spot again. And this time when you go to highlight, when it tries to select that text, you're going to hold down your control key and turn it back into a highlighter. And then you can draw over top of it. I'm going to hold my control and my shift key at the same time, because then I can actually draw a straight line nice and clean over that door tag. Okay. Now, one of these we drew over top of it. One of these we actually selected the text. It's going to give us two different results in our markups list. If I look at the one that we drew over top of it, and I look at the comments, there's nothing in there. But if I look at the one where I actually selected the text to highlight it, the text shows up in the comments. Now, why is this important? If you're looking through a code book or a specification or drawings or whatever you're looking through, if you use the highlighter this way to select the text of maybe an important section of the spec book, your markups list is searchable. So I can come up here to the search panel and look for 200. And it's going to narrow all of the markups in my markups list to show the one that contains 200. So you can start, it's almost like bookmarks. You can highlight the important things and then you can search and find those in your markups list. So all kinds of different workflows that you could use with that. Okay, what are some other? The arc tool. A lot of people hate this one, including me for a long time. When you click on that and you try to draw your arc, it gives you this really strange quarter oval, which is pretty much worthless unless you're drawing cars from the 40s. Then it's fantastic. The trick with this one, if you hold your shift key down and you click and drag, it'll give you a quarter circle. So that's a little bit better. But my favorite, if you hold your alt key down, you'll actually be able to draw a 3-point arc like we were all hoping. So Alt key, you can draw a 3-point arc. I go back to here. Let's see, the ellipse. Some on this one too. When you click and drag, you're going to get this oval. If I hold my shift key down, I can get a circle, corner to corner. And again, if I hold my Alt key, I can get a circle from the radius instead of corner to corner. So that's a nice one to learn as well. What else do we want to show here? The polyline. This one's pretty simple. Again, it's just a continuous line with different points. So we pick. If at any point you don't like the path you're headed down in life, you just hit backspace on your keyboard and it'll back up. You don't have to delete and start over, just back up and continue on again. Double click when you're done. If things change, you can select it afterwards, hold your shift key and click to add a grip anywhere in a line segment. So you can adjust that shape, or hold your shift key to click on the grip and remove it. You can also right click on a line segment and convert to arc. So within that same line, you can adjust what that looks like in a lot of different ways. Same thing with the polygon. When you're clicking on this one, click. All of the backspace tips still work with that one. Double click when you're done. And the same thing here. If you click on it, hold your shift key down, you can add grips. Move those around. Remove grips with your shift key again. Convert to arc. There's a right click. And a trick I want to show you here is that when you draw a closed shape, you can go into your properties over here and put a fill color in there. So I can put yellow. Covers up the whole thing. You don't have to mess around with the fill opacity. A lot of people come in here and will make it 50% or something like that to lighten that up so you can see through it. You don't have to do that. Leave that dark and bold. Just click the highlight check mark. That'll make it see-through. Now, some of you take advantage of this tool and you go in there and you make white markups so you can clean up the drawings and hide things. Okay, don't do that. You're not fooling anybody. There's still a markup in the markups list, and guess what? It has your name on it. Okay, don't be that person. Close this. I'll show you how to actually do that. You're going to go up to Edit, PDF Content, Erase Content. So if I want to make this a 2-story building, I'm just going to zoom in on my stairs, click and drag a window here, and wipe out those stairs. Now those are completely gone. There's nothing in the markups list tracking that. It's completely erased. Once you save this, you can't undo it and bring it back. Okay. Another one in here, Edit, PDF Content, Cut Content. So if you want to move something, let's say this break room table and countertop, I can cut that. It'll put it on my clipboard and then I can paste it anywhere I want. It comes in like a markup, so I can move it. And then a lot of times when I do that, I quickly right click and flatten it so nobody knows I did that. Okay. We're editing PDFs here. So outside of this room, don't tell anybody I showed you how to do that. There's people that sign drawings that don't want you to know that. Okay. Markup tool. I think we're good there. Let's jump into some measurements. So I like to get mine over on the measurement panel over here. And I should back up a second. What I'm showing you here, I'm actually in the Review Advanced Profile. So it spreads out some tools on the left and the right. I like that because I can have my tool chest open over here and my properties and my measurements over here because I'm in both of those all the time. Okay, so the first thing I need to do is calibrate. It's going to tell us to pick 2 points of a known dimension. Usually the bigger the better. I'm just going to go with the 30 feet here. And you'll notice I'm snapping to the line work in the PDF. That's going to be down here with our snap to content on the status bar. I'm going to snap to that, click, snap over here. A lot of times I like to hold my shift key so I don't accidentally have a skewed line. That would throw off all our measurements. Click there. And it's telling us that this random distance on the piece of paper is 30 feet. It's correct. I'm going to apply that scale. Now I can get any measurement I want. I can come in here, snapping to the face of those walls, holding my shift key to get a straight line. I can measure these rooms where I don't have measurements. Another tip I like to share here is down on the navigation bar, there's this button here that looks like maybe a Quidditch ball. It says disable line weights. If you click on that, it'll turn off all the line weights in the drawing. So you can actually see that wall as a single line instead of a big fat line. So sometimes I've noticed that when I do an area measurement, if I have my line weights turned on, it'll actually measure to the face of that thick line instead of the line that's actually the center of that, if that makes any sense. So instead of measuring to this line, it's measuring to the thickness of it. So it can give you inaccurate measurements. So anytime I'm doing measurements, I typically turn the line weights off. Actually, most of the time I have the line weights off. It's just easier to look at and easier to snap to things. Okay. The poly length tool is next. This one's the same as the polyline. So you just click and measure whatever you're doing for linear footage. Linear measurement, again, backspace works on this one. Double click when you're done. It gives you the length of each segment and the total length. Same tips with this one as the polyline. You can hold your shift key and add a grip, adjust it, hold your shift key and click to remove it. Right click, convert to arc. All of that stuff's available in your measurements as well. Okay, pretty simple. We're going to do an area measurement real quick. There's a couple different ways you can do this one. Zoom in down here. First one, this one's a rectangle. I'm just going to snap in the corner up here. Click and drag to the bottom corner. Gives me my area measurement. Now, typically, all the CAD software we use is fighting for the center of the room. So our measurement lands on top of the Office 224. If you select your markup and hold your shift key, well, let me show you first what happens. If you try to move that text, it moves the whole thing. So I'm going to hit escape before it actually moves. And the trick here is to hold your shift key, and then you can move that text wherever you want. I also updated my default area measurement to have this pink infill. I just went to the properties of that markup, put a fill color of red, and the fill opacity to 10%. And then I clicked on set as default. And the reason I did that is if I go home for the day and I come back tomorrow, I know which rooms, as soon as I open this, I know which rooms I finished and which ones I haven't. If I don't have that in here, it's a little harder to see which rooms I've measured. So that's why I have that default in here. Another way to do that, instead of click and drag, we have this odd shaped room. We're going to click. Instead of click and drag, we're going to pick. And I'm selecting the end of the straight lines here. I'm going to skip over that rounded corner. Pick, and down here, I'm going to double click. And then just like our other tools, I'm going to right click on this line segment here, convert to arc. And sometimes when you convert to arc, it comes in inverted. I've had the best luck when I go clockwise. Sometimes it still happens, but when I create the shape going clockwise, a lot of times it's going to convert out instead of in. So it's another way to do that. Another one I like to show is dynamic fill, which is going to be on the far right side. It looks like a water bucket here. Dynamic fill is one of my favorites. I used to work with a guy named Phil, and he wasn't dynamic in the least until I said dynamic fill, and then he'd pump his fist and get all excited. So that's my joke about dynamic fill. So this one is used for odd shaped rooms like this one, and I need a continuous line around the perimeter of the area I want to measure. And since I have an open door here, I'm going to come up here and add a boundary and draw a line across this door. Then I'm going to select my paint bucket. And then down here in the middle, I'm just going to hold my left mouse button down and swirl and fill up that room. And I'm going to bleed through that door and the door tag. And when I'm done, I need to tell it what I want it to report. So I need to click on area. If I don't select what I want to have it report, it won't report anything. It'll just cancel and you'll think it didn't work. It's because you didn't tell it what to tell you. Once I select that, I'm going to hit apply, and you can see it'll do a nice job going around all those curves and give us that area. Okay, any questions about the basic stuff? Everybody doing okay? All right, fantastic. So now that we're done with that, I'm going to show you a couple other things, how different companies are using Bluebeam. The first one I want to show you is just a design review workflow. So you've got your architects, your engineers, your EITs, whoever, marking up the drawings, and maybe you're the technician that needs to apply all those changes. You can have tool sets just like these defaults in Bluebeam here, where we have the architect's tool drawer, Cloud Plus, text box, highlighter, and so on. They're all red. So when I look out here and I see red markups, I know it was done by the architect. Down here for the contractor, same tools, but they're yellow. And I can see that down here. These are all contractor markups. Same thing for the engineer. So you can build tool sets with color and create that visual language so you can see who's marking what up. But the part I want to show you is statuses. So if you're working on a design review or something like that, whether you're in a studio session and you're all opening up the same PDF at the same time and marking those up, or you're just opening a drawing, you can change the status of your markups. So let's say, these are all my markups. I'm going to go to this one here. Flooring was done by Jay Popeil. And once I apply that change to my CAD file or my Revit model, I can come down here to the status, and you can create custom statuses so that when I mark this completed, it mimics exactly what I would do in a paper workflow when I color over it with a yellow highlighter, indicating that I've completed that markup. Okay, and in here it'll say that Troy DeGroat marked this completed and the date and the time that I did that. Now, when the person that marks it up back checks it, they would typically scribble over it with a green marker. So I can double click in here as that person and mark this accepted. And we can name those whatever you want. So just like the green highlighter, it highlights it green and it marks it accepted by whoever and the date and the time that they did that. So you're tracking who finished the markup and who didn't, or whatever the case might be. Another one, it might be rejected. You can have it changed to a orange or whatever you want. Canceled. I changed this one. If that markup is canceled, like it doesn't apply anymore, I set it up so when it's canceled, it changes to white and basically disappears. But we didn't delete it. We still have a record of that markup. So at any point, we can still pull that forward and make it visible again. So that's how statuses can be used in that workflow. And then just like in a paper workflow, once everything is green, we know that we can print a new set for issue. Everything's been completed and back checked. Any questions on the statuses? If you're doing this in a studio session, so studio is the cloud portion of Bluebeam. With studio sessions, you can upload PDFs only, and you can invite up to 500 people to collaborate on that same PDF. So everybody opens up the exact same PDF at the same time, and they mark it up together. So literally as fast as you place a markup, it's going to show up on my screen, and I can see that you did that. So back when I was doing design, everything was paper, of course. And I had an EIT that was marking up all the sizes and things like that. They were running the calcs. And then the engineer record was also marking it up. And a lot of times they'd give me their big sheets of paper and the markups would contradict. So I would have to run around, interview them, make sure, whose markup is right, whose is wrong. A lot of times it was a third markup with their thoughts being combined. It was just a mess. If they would have done that in a studio session, they could have seen each other's markups and had a discussion and updated that in there. And I could have been in the PDF at the same time, applying those markups to the models as fast as they're marking them up. Instead, I'd wait till 2 o'clock when they were done and end up working through the night because the drawings are due in the morning, right? So we can eliminate that with all of us working together in a studio session. Next one I want to show you is sets. So I'm going to jump into a different Bluebeam here. And this one, I've got a multi-page document. If I look at my thumbnails, I'm just going to fly through this workflow here. All my thumbnails are pretty screwed up. I've got 3 number 2s in here. I can fix that very quickly just by clicking on Create Page Labels, select a region, zoom in and draw a box around that drawing number. And I'm going to click OK, and it's going to look at that box on every single sheet. I'm going to say All Pages. And in 2 seconds, it updated all of my page labels to read the page number. Okay. Next thing I'm going to do is go into my batch link new and create some hyperlinks. So I'm going to add open files. I can point to folders and subfolders as well if I want to. I'm just going to do this one. I'm going to use my page label since I already updated that and click on generate. Now you guys know that none of the section cuts or elevation tags or notes or anything are ever going to reference back to the cover sheet. So I actually changed this search criteria. So I put something that's on every single sheet. So in this case, the job number. And every time Bluebeam finds that job number, it's going to create a hyperlink back to the cover sheet. And I want to do that because my sheet index is there. As it's like a home base. I can jump home from every single sheet. And I'm going to go ahead and click run. And it's going to go through all these sheets looking for those page numbers and create hyperlinks. Basically, I'm activating all of my section cuts and plan notes. It just created 164 hyperlinks. Say finish and close. And now you can see that my sheet index is active. I can jump from my first floor plan to a blow-up plan to a section cut. And then I can click on my home button to go back through another sequence of drawings if I want to. Okay. So what happens when you open a 36-page document? The first person in the office is the winner. They open it up, they own it. Everybody else gets a read-only. So what do? You create your own. You save as, you put it on your desktop, you mark it up. Pretty soon, 16 people have 16 versions of the drawings. A revision comes out. Nobody knows what's going on. And you have markups spread out all over the world. So what I like to do is actually create a set. And I don't like that Bluebeam calls it a set because I feel like this is already a set. But what we're going to do is right-click, extract pages. I'm going to select all pages. I want to extract them all to separate PDF files and use the page name to name that file. And I want to make sure that I keep the hyperlinks relative paths. I'm going to click OK. It's going to ask me where to save that. And if I look at that folder now, let's cancel that. Another trick here, if I right click on the tab here, I can go to Explore Document Folder, and it'll bring me right to where that one lives. So I can look at my, let's see, where did I put that? This one here. So I put all those individual files in here. Okay. Now we're going to pull them back together in what Bluebeam calls a set. So I'm going to close this one. Go to my sets panel here. Create a new set. Sets allow you to view a collection of individual sheets as if they're a single document. So I'm going to click OK. And I'm going to point to that folder. And say select folder. And it will load all those. I'm going to click OK. And it's going to ask me to create a couple of tags. So the sheet name, I'm going to select, draw a box here. It's going to ask for the sheet number. Grab this here. And what this is doing is, Bluebeam calls it a set. I prefer to call it a binder. It's like a 3-ring binder. And now it's pulled all of those individual pages into that binder, and we can view it just like we did before when it was a single document. Except now, when I click on this drawing here, it opens up that one sheet and leaves the rest open to the rest of my team. When I switch over to another sheet, it closes that one, making it available to everyone else and opening up that one sheet. So my team can bounce around and look at different drawings within this same binder, as opposed to when it was one PDF. It also loads faster. Maybe the best thing about the binder is that all of my users are opening up the BEX file, the set file. And so only one person needs to manage this. When a revision comes out, one person just comes in here to batch slip sheet. Current files as the open set. The revised files, I'm going to point to a folder. Version 2. It will load all the sheets that were affected by that revision. And I'm going to say match pages. Now, some of these, they were named correctly, so they automatically matched up, the new and the old. Some of them are unmatched, so I just need to do those manually. I'm going to go A201, match 203, 300, match. Now I have some options here. I can replace the current pages with the revised page, or what I like to do is insert the revised pages before the current page. So the most recent is always going to be on the top of the stack. I'm going to copy all my markups from the current page to the revised page. And I'm going to unflatten any markups before the copy if I need to. I'm also asking it to stamp the current pages superseded. So it's going to do all that at the same time. I'm going to click OK. It's going to slip those pages in, stamp the old one superseded, copy the markups forward, and put the new one on top. So now over in my binder, over here, you can see behind this one, there's an arrow leading back to the previous version of this drawing. You put that tiny little superseded stamp over top of it. So be careful you don't miss that. But then the most current is on top. All the hyperlinks will link to the most current drawings all the time when you slip sheet. So when my team is working in this binder, one person updates the drawing set. They slide in all the revised sheets. Everybody just comes in the morning. They open up the binder. They have the most current set of drawings all the time. Okay. Another thing you can do is right click, compare documents. It'll line those two up and cloud everything that's different between them. So you can see we've got some changes here and in the schedule. Okay. Any questions on sets? You guys are quiet today. I think last time the questions took over the show.
Yeah, they're being real quiet.
It's okay. Hopefully they're taking notes, or
They are.
I'm not boring them. All right.
Nobody's
Perfect. So
sleeping yet.
that's good. Good. The next one I want to go over is punch walks. So collecting field data, things like that. In this example, I created a tool chest for all the different disciplines. So you'll notice in here, yellow is electrical, orange is mechanical, dark red is structure, blue is plumbing. So that, again, you can look at this and know exactly who the markups are for. Because we've got, if you're a mechanical contractor, you know all the orange ones are yours. I can also sort and filter my list to show me only the markups for mechanical. So if I come in here and filter, I've got layers set up in here so I can turn on and off all of those as well. But if I want to look at just the structural, I can do that. It'll filter my list so it only shows structural in here, and it only shows the structural up top. So if I filter it, if I'm the general contractor, I can filter this list. I can run a report and give that to my structural subcontractor, and then switch it over, turn off the structural, turn it to mechanical, run a report, give that to my mechanical contractor, and so on. I also set these up so that I have legends that are only reporting the punch symbols that were placed. So I created punch symbols that had a description and comments on how to fix those. On this one, I actually put the quantities in here as well so that they know exactly how many return air ducts are required. They know what equipment to bring, what tools, what products to bring in before they get there. And then I also created spaces for each room so that if I go to, let me turn on, let's see, if I sort this by space, it's going to actually sort all of my markups by room name. So 1254, it's showing me all the markups that are in that room. So I can just go room by room and know exactly what I need to do. I know exactly where to deliver those products. You know, the cabinet's broken. I need to go to room 1254 to fix that cabinet. So it helps in that whole process, collecting field data, and then what you do with it afterwards. You can also attach images to your markups. So I've got this verify with window manufacturer cloud here. And when I click on this little lens here, it's going to open up my picture that I took on site that I attached to that markup. So I've apparently got some structural glass here that's going to hold up the deck above. We can also attach 360-degree images. So this one here, you're collecting that field data. Maybe you're looking for the ductwork, all the flex tubes and things, and then you get home and you're wondering about the fire sprinkler system. Well, you got that in here too that you captured. You didn't know you needed to, but you did. So you can collect that stuff in here as well. Okay, so that's my punch. I'm going to jump out of that one. Punch or collecting field data, whatever you want to refer to that as. And the last one, I'm going to jump in here for some estimating. Estimating is by far the most popular thing I get asked to build custom tools for. I built tools for probably 15 different concrete contractors, and they're different every time. So I don't sell tools off the shelf because they're different. And so I learn the workflows of the company and then build the tools to fit. So this particular company, I delivered some tools this morning. They have everything from concrete foundations to masonry, lintels, wood framing, roofing, doors. They've got tools for absolutely everything. If you look at their tool sets, they're all organized here. So basically they can start at the top of the list, lay out their footings, lay out their slabs, masonry columns. These masonry columns actually tell you how many blocks you need and how much concrete you need to fill it based on how tall it is. Masonry walls, you trace these, you trace the walls on the plan. The tools are built for certain heights, so it'll tell you how many blocks you need to fill that, to cover those walls. Lintels, precast lintels, ceiling drywall, subfloor, exterior sheathing, sheetrock, all kinds of things in here. Lumber, the wood wall lumber, this particular tool, you just trace the wall here, and it's going to, in the columns down below, we've got a whole ton of custom columns down here with all the information. So in here, I can select that wall and come in. Where's my markup? Let's select it again. I can select that markup, and then I've got my base plate species, which could be different each time. It says select, and I can come in here and pick whatever it is. And then I've also got my stud lumber species, top plate species. I can tell it the lumber length if I want to. Over here, I'm going to tell it that I've got 2x6s. And you'll notice here the stud count based on the length of that wall. It's going to tell me how many studs I need. Gives me the linear footage of top and bottom as well. If I've got a metal stud wall, it's just going to give me the length of the base and the top are the same. But if it's wood, we got a double top plate, so the number doubles. And then posts and all that stuff. Everything's calculating down here. So basically all you're doing is you're grabbing the right tool, you're coloring between the lines, highlighting things, and all the magic happens down below. And then I built legends for all these as well. So you can select these, drop these legends on the sheet. Oops, I've got them all over here already. So now you can see the footings. I've got cubic yards, slabs, columns, masonry walls. And I've got legends that you can put directly on the sheet for all the different tools. Garage doors, pre-hung doors, all of that stuff is in here. Any questions on that one?
Nope.
Everybody's quiet.
Yeah, it looks like they're all good.
All right. So we got, what, 10 minutes left?
Yeah.
All right. So that's what I've got for you, but let me see if I can come up with some different stuff.
If anybody has any questions on anything, you can ask them anything you want. Yeah, we got one.
Is this available after, like, on YouTube or this session?
This recording? Yeah, I believe Sean's going to send out some links.
Awesome. Thank you.
All right. All my secrets are getting handed out. Awesome. Awesome. So yeah, I mean, I can dig around and show you guys some more stuff if you want. Is there any questions even outside of the presentation that you guys run into in Bluebeam that I can maybe help with?
Could you cover that hyperlink solution one more time? How you ran through those hyperlinks and had it find all those hyperlinks in your sheet set?
The batch hyperlink?
Yeah.
Yeah, so that was over here. You want me to run through how to do the batch hyperlink?
Yeah, just one more time.
Yeah, for sure.
Step.
So I'm going to come back over here and open up my combined set. Also, another tip, guys, these are all your recent files. It's going to hold the last 20 documents you had open, and then they're going to start falling off. You'll notice I have pins next to some of these. These are documents that I use all the time. And so I pin them into a category. The categories are up here. So when I show up to teach my estimating course, all the documents I need are here. When I teach my Bluebeam for admin course, all of my files are here. Those are scattered all over my laptop, but I keep them all pinned here so I can quickly access those. If you ask me a question about Bluebeam, I'm probably going to jump up here, go to a specific course, and pick on a drawing that I know I could explain whatever that question is. So that's another tip to organize your documents that you come back to all the time. So now that I've got this combined set open, the first thing I like to do is always update the page labels. So that one's right here at the top of the thumbnails panel. Click on that, select a region. You want to draw a box as big as you can inside of the title block. You don't want to come out here because Bluebeam's going to think that's a 1 or an I. You want to stay inside, but you also want it big enough so that if this becomes 0.3 or Alt 1 or whatever that might be, you still want that to fit in the box. So draw that as big as you can. We can also type in here a dash. So I'll put a space, dash, space, add another region, and draw around the title. So again, making it as big as you can inside of the title block. So if this wraps to 3 lines, it'll still fit. Say okay. All 36 sheets, and boom, they're all updated. Next, we went up to batch link new, and you do need the complete version of Review 21 to do this. Just say link new. I'm going to tell it my open file, and then I'm going to remove that one. Okay. Next, I already updated my page labels, so I usually use those, but because I added the title in there, I need to do a page region because all my section cuts don't have, it's just the page number, not the page title. So I'm going to select a region and draw a box here again. And okay. Now I'm going to have it search for that. So this list basically says every time I find that Bluebeam finds A100, it's going to create a hyperlink to the third page of this document. And the trick I showed here, I replaced G100 because it won't be found anywhere with something that's on every single sheet. So job number in this case. And then I'm going to click run. And if you don't get all these steps, don't worry about it. I've got a video on my website that shows all these steps and a tip at the end also. So 164, finish and close. And now I've got an active sheet index, and I can click on any of those and it will jump to that page. Section cuts, jump back, go through another set. Maybe I want to look at my structural, and so on. Okay.
Thank you.
Anybody else? Yeah, no problem.
No?
All right. Well, the last thing that I'm going to do is show you guys a resource, my website, uchapter2.com. And on here, if you click on forums, it'll bring you to the forum page here. You can join for free. I've got thousands of people all over the world that are eager to brainstorm solutions, answer your questions. There's different categories in here. So estimating, general, Java, municipalities, and so on. You can jump in here. If nothing else, read some tips and tricks, but become an active member of the community here. We're all learning together. I introduce this to every single class that I teach. So every day there's beginners coming in here and asking questions. So there's nothing too stupid or too smart. Lots of people in here helping out. So I'd invite you all to check that out and join. And also, if I go to my resources, there's a company use assessment in here. So answer a couple of questions and it'll give you some recommendations on getting more out of the software based on how you answer those questions. And if you want to engage with me, there's an option there too, but you can get some answers there. Newsletter sign up. If you want to do that, that would be fantastic. I have digital courses coming out within hopefully the next week. Fingers crossed. I've got a free one, and I've got my Bluebeam Baseline Basics course that I'm going to be launching in the next week. So jump on the newsletter so you hear about that. Events, I have at least 2 webinars a month for free. One of those is a tool building workshop. So we just jump in, people show the tools that they built and how they work. We discuss how they did that. So those are really fun. Blog, got blog posts all the way back to 2017 when I started this with my original blog was Bluebeam and Burgers. I was talking about burgers and everything else and Bluebeam, and I had to get more professional when I started a business. So training videos, again, I was on YouTube back in 2017, so a bunch of videos there. And you'll find these are different than a lot of stuff you see out there. They're all workflow based. I've been in the industry for almost 30 years, so I know kind of what the goals are, and I've strung the tools together to achieve that goal. When I learned Bluebeam, it was extremely frustrating because there was a million videos for each tool, but nobody with industry knowledge was actually putting them together to accomplish something. So all of my content is based on, what's the end goal? Where are we trying to get? So you can jump in there. Free downloads. That's the last one I'll mention. I have a free download for hatch patterns. I went through, I think, 900 hatch patterns from AutoCAD and narrowed it down to 82 of the most popular ones. So you can download those and they'll come with directions on how to import those into Bluebeam. So you can access those in your markups as well. And then Bluebeam tool sets. I actually went through, I found free ones throughout the internet. I worked on them and updated them, made them better. So this download has 1,615 tools in 57 tool sets. ranging across just about every division of the CSI. Some of them aren't complete, but these are all markup tools that you can download and install for free and take advantage of those. So whole bunch of stuff on the website. I invite you guys to check it out, especially the forums. Become an active member in there, asking any questions. You'll come up with a question when you get out of here today. Jump in there, ask that. It's an extension of me. I'm in here all the time. So with that, let's see if I can get my PowerPoint back up. With that, thanks for spending some time with me today. Here are several ways you can connect with me and keep learning together. And again, something I didn't mention on the slide deck was those on-demand courses that are launching. Those are fresh and new. Didn't make the slides, but those are coming out hopefully within the next week. We're testing the last few pieces of that. And it'll be the first 2 courses of about a dozen. So we've got a whole bunch of them that I'm recording and pulling together. So, and most of the courses are 2 hours. So as a BIM manager, I know the most expensive part of training is time away from projects. So I've designed all of my courses to be workflow based. So you can go through the baseline basics. If you're in the field, you can go to collecting field data. If you're an estimator, you can go to estimating basics, estimating advanced, and so on. You can kind of pick your path and build out your training curriculum that way. So I'm not going to put you through an 8-hour course and teach you a bunch of stuff you don't care about. So that's what I have for you guys today. If you have any questions, again, jump out into the forums, ask those there. My email is also on the screen. Connect with me on LinkedIn, wherever you like. I'd love to connect with you guys and keep learning. So thank you, guys.
Okay, thanks, Troy.
Yep, thanks, guys.
All right.